because in the course of our leadership election, we will have had the results of the American election. Now, I'm no fan of Trump, but I'm no fan of Hillary either. But I suspect that Hillary's probably just going to tip it. I go back to what I said before. You know, our future as a political party in Britain does not lie in that far right wing. I don't see a groundswell of opinion in this country for more far right wing policies. I don't see a groundswell of opinion for the right to bear arms in America. You know, all those kind of Trump.
And do you think that Raheem Kassam, who looks to be like the front runner at the moment, is going to take the party in a far right direction, as you would characterise it?
Yes, yes, absolutely. I don't think there's any doubt about that. And you know, our members don't want that. We've taken a lot of stick in UKIP. Because perhaps we've had a slightly more toxic image than we should have had. And our members, as I said, the ones that are doing the campaigning, have felt the brunt of that, being abused, being physically and verbally assaulted on the streets. You know, they don't want to have a fresh injection of toxicity that's going to make it even more difficult for them. They want policies that help us win.
And do they think, and do you think, that Raheem Kassam is toxic?
I think his, you know, I don't share his beliefs. The members ultimately will make their decision.
But she also said that she thought UKIP's image had become toxic.
Yeah, I mean, the last leadership election that we had, just a few weeks ago, we have them almost as often as the Labour Party now. I didn't endorse anybody, I didn't criticise anybody, I didn't get involved. And I'd intended not to get involved this time. But, you know, for her to talk about the party being toxic, for her to already declare one of the candidates who's running, Raheem Kassam, as being far right, I don't view this as being a very good start. And I have to say, they're the sort of things she said to me. I mean, after the general election, she said to me I shouldn't take any part at all in the referendum campaign. I was toxic. Immigration shouldn't even be discussed with the British public. And I think she's been in the wrong place ever since then. I mean, she may well think that herself, but that is not how UKIP members and UKIP voters feel.
So just to be absolutely clear, you would be urging UKIP members to vote for any other candidate?
Well, I won't be voting for her. Not after that, no. Well, the truth is that I went to Cleveland, to the Republican convention, as part of my getting my life back strategy, having resigned as UKIP leader, and I was just stunned by how big Brexit was over there. Not just amongst the delegates, but just ordinary folk you met in the streets wanted to talk about Brexit and what it meant. Yep. And some thought it was brilliant, and some thought we were crazy.
Did you have any opportunity to talk to him this time?
I happened to be invited to go to Mississippi by the governor of Mississippi to talk about Brexit and what were the crossovers, what were the parallels with the American elections, and just by happenstance, coincidence, finished up meeting Trump, going on the stage with him. I haven't endorsed him as a candidate. I don't agree with everything he says, but I do think in terms of direction of travel, he's right on several big issues.
Are you going to run?
Yes, I am. I've made the decision that I'll put my name forward to be the next leader of UKIP. I have huge support out there across the country, not only amongst people at the top of the party in Westminster and with the MEPs, but also amongst the grassroots. And I want to stand on a platform of being the unity candidate. UKIP needs to come together. You know, I'm not going to be on here and gild the lily. UKIP at the moment is looking over the edge of a political cliff. It will either step off or it will step back, and I want to be the candidate that will tell us to come backwards.
You said it faces an existential threat, which would mean that it's possible that it has no future at all.
Well, students of political history know that political movements or political parties take a long time to get going and build. It's taken us over 20 years, but they can disappear pretty quickly. And UKIP is facing an existential crisis. What's happened over the summer has put us on we could be getting onto a spiral which we couldn't get off. But I believe that I am the man to bring the factions together, to create unity within the party, and to build and restructure and get us ready for the coming challenges.
Now then, the race to discover who will be the next leader of UKIP is underway, and with the backing of the party's key donor, Aaron Banks, it looks like Raheem Kassam is the front runner. One of the candidates, Suzanne Evans, who today confirmed her own candidacy, said that she feared he would take the party in what she called a far-right direction. Well, Mr Kassam joins me now. A very good morning to you, Mr Kassam. Well, let's respond directly. Let's hear it from you, from Suzanne Evans. She talked about that far-right direction. She also talked about not wanting that kind of toxicity in the party.
I don't want this to be about personal attacks, and I was disappointed that 60 seconds into her campaign launch, she makes it a personal attack on me. I think this is about the future of the party. I certainly do not consider myself far right, and I think she never considered me far right when she asked for my help writing UKIP's manifesto in 2015. So this is just politics, and I want to get away from that, and I want to talk about what the future of the party should be and what the future of the country should be. So I'm going to say to her, let's stop all of that. Let's come together as people who believe in Britain and actually knock our heads together and come up with the right solutions. She can meet me whenever she wants.
But do you think she's an asset to the party?
I think she can be. I think there's no doubt about it.
Well,
I think there's no doubt when she goes in front of television cameras and takes the party line on things, and she can present them in a very reasonable and good way. But when she does things like this, it really undermines her, it undermines her campaign, and it's an attack on a lot of the party members. There was a YouGov study that came out today that showed that the party likes the direction that Nigel Farage has taken it in. They don't want to compromise on that. And she's talking about compromising on it and being the centrist party. And I'm here to say that I would continue Nigel Farage's legacy inside UKIP.
But I mean, you're not a unifier, are you? I mean, you're pretty forthright about many of the personalities and members of the party, aren't you? I mean, are you serious about trying to unify the party, or wouldn't you just want to get rid of them?
I'm deadly serious. If these people, like me, by the way, can be penitent sinners and say, we've said some things in the past that we don't wish to stand by.
So they're sinners at the moment.
Sorry
Douglas
about
Carswell
it. I think a lot
sinners.
of us are. I think a lot of us are, and I'm putting myself in that. But I think now, especially after that incident with Stephen Wolfe in the European Parliament, we have to say this has gone too far. We are all in the same party, and if we wish to remain in the same party, let's sit down around a table together.
You said in 2015, after the general election, looking at much of UKIP and thinking you were just a bunch of ragtag, unprofessional, embarrassing people who let Nigel down at every juncture. Are you saying things have changed, or have you got to sort that out?
No, it needs sorting out. It really does need sorting out.
Well, somebody's going to have to go then, aren't they?
Well, this is why... Well, some structures need changing. The party needs a professional management board. It's ludicrous that you have elected members of the National Executive Committee who fight their own seats across the country in charge of the finances and in charge of campaign strategy, because they're going to favour their own seats and their own campaigns. It needs a professional management board, and yes, that means some of the NEC powers will have to go. And the NEC should be turned into a regional representation for the party. So yes, I am the only candidate, and I truly believe I'm the only candidate who is willing to go in there and say this needs real change.
OK, so if some of them can't deal with that, they go, and then you'd bring in the likes of Tommy Robinson. I saw an interesting video of you on YouTube talking quite recently about Tommy Robinson, who of course is former leader of the English Defence League, now leading or involved in Pegida in the UK. And you say you would consider having him in UKIP?
No, I've never said that. What I've said is...
You said he's a friend of yours.
Well, actually, what I've said is he's a great source, because I'm a journalist. I'm still a journalist. I'm doing that. I have to get in there, I have to get into these rallies, and I report on them, and we video them, and we interview people, and I've interviewed him twice now. And I actually I will say this myself, I actually stood up at the Pegida rally and gave a speech about Brexit, because it was ahead of the EU referendum. Tommy Robinson wouldn't have a place in the UK Independence Party. I believe he's even said that himself.
Unless he changes?
No. See, my policy on the blanket ban inside UKIP has been very clear from day one, and you get all of the other candidates trying to spin it to journalists. This is how politics works. My policy has been very, very clear, is that if you want to pay for your own CRB check, your own disbarment service check, then the party can sit you in front of a panel and you can make your case to them. But let me ask you this question, if you don't mind. How many members of the far right do you think are going to join a party led by a chap called Raheem Kassam? Bubkas.
Well, you said you're friends with Tommy Robinson. I mean, he looks like a member of the far right to me.
Well, I think what Tommy did when he left the EDL was try and sever that tie. That's not me defending him. I'm interpreting that as a journalist.
Now, do you think you've got the temperament to do this job? I mean, I've been reading your Twitter feed as well, and, you know, I mean, it may have been late at night, the one I read, when you were having an exchange with, as they call the trolls, perhaps, who were having a go at you. I think you were watching Newsnight together. You were using the C word, the F word, the S word. You were barring people. Do you think you could restrain yourself if you became leader?
You know, my job has been to be a very combative journalist. My job has been to be a little bit out there, a little bit, you know, get some attention, things like that. But nowadays, you know, 21st century, we live our lives in short bursts. You know, I've been a journalist, I've been a think tanker, I've been a comms director, I've worked for Nigel Farage. Right. You know, you move on. and you can be different people in your life. I haven't sat here my whole life and gone, I want to aspire to be a politician and therefore I'm going to carry myself like a PC robot. I've been a normal human being. And your question was...
Will you use Anglo-Saxon swear words if you become leader?
No, of course not, but people use that kind of language. You know, walk down any high street with me, you can hear it. You know, none of us are beyond making mistakes like that. But it's about being able to own up to them and say, look, you know, I've done that, I'm not going to do that now. Listen to this interview, you know, go away and look at my other interviews on television. It's not that, is it?
Now, talk about the policies. I mean, we've got to talk about Calais and your view on the child refugees coming in. I mean, you obviously don't believe some of them are children, for a start.
Well, I would like the evidence, is all I'm saying. You know, I think
would
the
you
British
want testing, though? Dental testing?
Yeah, I think so. I think there has to be. And I would actually like that to be a transparent process. I would like these records to go up on the government website. Obviously redacted. We don't want their faces. We don't want their names attached to these things. But we can show that these tests have been done. If the government can prove to the British public and calm all of this stuff down, then why doesn't it just do it?
OK. And what about Gary Lineker? I mean, he's been very voluble in supporting people, whatever age they are. I said it's basic humanity to be concerned about our fellow individuals in the world. People are saying, well, he's straight across the line here. He should be sacked by the BBC. What's your view?
Well, I have never been a big fan of people who are in different industries and sports industry and things like that chiming in on politics. I think they're more than welcome to, you know. I just don't think they have all the facts to hand. I'm not a big Walker's fan. I prefer the real McCoy.
OK, well, you've obviously pre-prepared that, but do you think he should still be employed?
I did not know you were going to ask me that question.
Should he still be employed by the BBC?
It's a decision for the BBC to take. You know, they have their own structures inside, determining whether or not their people should do this sort of thing. I
didn't endorse anybody. I didn't criticise anybody. I didn't get involved, and I'd intended not to get involved this time. But you know, for her to talk about the party being toxic, for her to already declare one of the candidates who's running, Raheem Kassam, as being far right, I don't view this as being a very good start. And I have to say, they're the sort of things she said to me.
And do they think, and do you think, that Raheem Kassam is toxic?
I think you know, I don't share his beliefs. The members ultimately will make their decision.
But she also said that she thought UKIP's image had become toxic.
Yeah, I mean, the last leadership election that we had, just a few weeks ago, we have them almost as often as the Labour Party now.
I want that. We've taken a lot of stick in UKIP. Because perhaps we've had a slightly more toxic image than we should have had. And our members, as I said, the ones that are doing the campaigning, have felt the brunt of that, being abused, being physically and verbally assaulted on the streets. You know, they don't want to have a fresh injection of toxicity that's going to make it even more difficult for them. They want policies that help us win. Because in the course of our leadership election, we will have had the results of the American election. Now, I'm no fan of Trump, but I'm no fan of Hillary either. But I suspect that Hillary's probably just going to tip it. I go back to what I said before. You know, our future as a political party in Britain does not lie in that far right wing. I don't see a groundswell of opinion in this country for more far right wing policies. I don't see a groundswell of opinion for the right to bear arms in America. You know, all those kind of Trump.
And do you think that Raheem Kassam, who looks to be like the front runner at the moment, is going to take the party in a far right direction, as you would characterise it?
Yes, absolutely. I don't think there's any doubt about that. And you know, our members don't